body here, that we can do that as expeditiously as possible with all the information that is needed. And if I guess what some of the frustration seems to be,
particularly considering how long this is and how slowly this is unwinding as it is.
And there's clearly some frustration, and my frustration is that I see some of these emails, and there's so many people listed in the, to who the email is to, that I'm not sure who's supposed to respond. I guess that was the biggest thing. Was I was talking with the city attorney, and those factors and those things are actually not something that we would be responding to, or even our city attorney. That would be the pension board attorney at this point, and or the chairman of the board, or maybe even the administrator. So that was kind of where I was trying to get some clarification, because
Well, I appreciate that, because
doing that?
based on the fact that we were all copied informationally, I had a very similar conversation with the city attorney today, much in the same vein that you did. And what I would, I would suggest for council is keep this on your radar, because of the opportunity for an MOU to come at us. We want to be able to react quickly if that does happen, so that we can make the proper judgment at time. So from an awareness standpoint, I think it's important that we all be aware of what's going on with this. Not going to tell you all what to do or how to vote, can't do that, but all of us will continue to monitor it. And Matt, I appreciate it if you would continue to keep us up to date, maybe a little bit more frequently than you normally would for something like this, but if you could keep us all up to date individually on the progress, I'd appreciate that.
That's all I got. I don't have anything else tonight.
Okay. And Scott, I appreciate you taking that one, because that just eliminated mine. With that, we have not met since last year, so I want to wish everybody a happy new year. And with that, this is the time of year we start talking about town hall. Usually we select a date in February, and staff is working on that, potentially with the same date like we did last year. The same date as the Port Orange Chamber after hours. Probably after that, I already had a conversation with the chamber. Last year they changed their after hour times. They moved it up a little bit so people there could possibly come and fill the town hall. And the whole idea of a town hall is that we just open ourselves up. We can tell people what's going on, update them, but we want to hear from everybody. So know that that's coming. We'll have some social media posts. We'll do some press releases as well, get the word out. We'll talk about it at future council meetings. But it's always great when we get together and sit down with people of Port Orange and hear what's on their mind. It is really, really enlightening, and I appreciate that. I just want to throw that out there and let people know that, yeah, we'll be doing it again next year, this year, just like we have in years past, fairly soon. So that's on your radar. With that, Citizens Advisory Committee, the TPO has not met, so Bobby Ball will be back on the February 20th meeting agenda with a report. Brings us to regular agenda item number 19, discussion of utility billing mail surcharge, as discussed previously by Councilman Grubbs. Tracy, I will let you, we decided to put it on an agenda so that and let people know we'll be talking about it. Tracy, what you got on your mind, and what are you suggesting?
So, taking the position, I had to make sure that, I wanted to make sure that the city was financially responsible for the money that we use and how we use it. And being a business owner, it's always crunching pennies, and pennies add up very fastly. So rough estimates, we have about 29,000 homes and businesses that go through on a water bill. Out of that, we have approximately 15,400 that are still mailed a water bill. And I know a lot of people look at mail and go, yeah, it's just mail. But with 15,400 going out each month, it's an estimated of approximately $165,000 savings to the city to email those last 15,000. With that, you also capture the emails of the individuals. You have email postcards that the city does also that we could do instead of mailing postcards. It could be the same system. If we already have emails through that system, We do 3 to 4 mailers a year by postcard. That's approximately $19,000 per mailer.
Mhm.
So it's another $80,000. So we're talking about taking and emailing and saving the city right at $250,000 by using email. Now, I don't know about you, but that stamp adds up fast. It's $250,000 savings. We did $500,000 to the budget last year. That was well deserved to the employees of increase of pay, $500,000. I don't take that lightly. I think it was deserved, but at the same time, I think we can find ways to get our $500,000 back to the bottom line budget. This is half of that by changing to email. The environmental impact, we could go down that avenue. The environmental impact of not having mail and paper going out from the city is a big thing to me, being stewards to what goes out to the landfill. Allows us to have multiple emails captured by homeowners. I don't know about y'all, but there's 2 people in my house, myself and my wife, and when the mail comes in, the question is do I always see the mail, or does she always see the mail? If you have both emails of the homeowners, they get the mail. Both people have contact. If we use it in the right means, we also have boil water notices that can instantaneously go to both homeowners for those areas in the email. So many reasons for going to the mail, being dumped and the email coming on board. $250,000 is a lot of money. But $250,000 is going to be increased again. Stamp is 66 cents, and in 2 weeks it goes to 68 cents. 2 cents on 15,000 pieces of mail quickly adds up to another $3,700 for the year. So y'all can look at it how you want. It's cost benefits to the city is huge. What's it going to cost somebody if they decide not to do this? Pure cost. I'm not looking at profiting off of anybody. Pure cost to mail is 89 cents to somebody's home. And some of you will go, well, what about the individuals that cannot deal with direct pay and things of that nature or email? We got an IT department. It's a beautiful thing. We got 12 individuals. I believe we can utilize some of those resources inside the city that we're already paying for to help individuals. Lastly to it is people talk to me between the last meeting and this one about the 89 cents. It's less than $1 a month. I get it. But when you sit there and you look at FPL, Duke Energy, insurance companies like Allstate and State Farm, and they're doing what's called a convenience fee for mailing something to you. It ranges from $3 to $12, depending you're a consumer or a business, to get mail. We're talking 89 cents. We're below the average if somebody still wants to have mail. You asked, that's what I believe.
I think there are several arms and legs there, and we'll go around and get everybody. I think you can implement, the idea is to get everybody off of paper that we can. There will be some people that you just can't. That's just the reality of it. I know, but I also know that, for example, I get a paper bill. I could easily take an electronic bill, and I'll switch to it. I've just never had to. So I'm probably in the vast majority of those that would easily switch over to an electronic bill. And electronic billing is actually easier for me to process. It's just I've never gotten around to it, never had to. So but what do we do? I think all of us are going to have to chime in on, do we pass along an 89 cents convenience fee because that's our cost? Do we talk about something larger to incentivize people to push them to go electronic? I know the newspaper would charge me $9 a month for a paper bill. So boom, I went to electronic billing. real fast.
I would have canceled the paper.
Yeah, one way or the other. I mean,
I would have canceled it.
it's just, I'm down to Sunday only, and even that, it's like, I'm still not sure what I'm getting, but the whole idea was that $9 was they want to incentivize me to go to electronic billing. They didn't necessarily want my $9, but I
Yeah.
found that to be an extreme incentive.
they
And I
incentiv-
do mean extreme. I don't want to, if we want to incentivize people negatively, I think that's the wrong way to go.
Yeah, don't think we should do that. I think it should be the cost of what it is.
If that's the way we go.
89 cents a
Well, I was
month.
gonna say, why don't we start, we got a lot on the table, let's hear from each and every one of us. Let's start with
Well,
you, Drew. What are your
89
thoughts?
89 cents a month is like what, 1060 something. I just 1065, 1068. We're never getting everybody. They're not going to give us their email address. Not everybody. It's not going to happen. There's no way. And so we got what, 9,000 and change. We need 15,000 more. I just don't. There's some people that just refuse to use technology. I get it. I get a paper bill, and mine's on auto pay.
Mhm.
So, you know, is that burden? I don't know if I want to. You know, 1068 a year doesn't seem like much, but you know, that's lunch for somebody. You know, I don't know if you could break it down to that or compare it like that, but.
But it's also the cost of what's
yeah.
being provided.
And then what happens in this, you know, you get an email and all of a sudden, they got computer problems or whatever, or it gets hacked, now they gotta change emails and they forget. Or they don't do it, and now you're sending an email, they don't know they're getting a water bill. I mean, there could be some technical problems in it with people just switching, so I don't know how we address that. I'd be willing
Certainly
to hear
need some
how we
grace
handle
periods.
that, and,
Yeah.
but how do you hold them to, you know, you could tell them, till you're blue in the face, if you change emails, we have to be notified right away so that the system could be updated. I promise you, there's gonna be people that change emails and don't notify. It's gonna happen regularly. So I just don't, like I said, I'd be willing to hear a plan, but I just don't know how you get there. It could be problematic in a couple of ways, but.
Scott, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I compliment Councilman Grubbs for even
Absolutely.
bringing up the idea, and this is awesome. I mean, these are great discussions to have, and we should always be looking at stuff like this and ways to save the taxpayer money. I agree with a lot of the stuff that Councilman Bashan brings up. You know, so a couple of things. One, we've had some issues in the past several years with electronic billing. The click-to-gov thing was a mess. That's not that far off on people's minds that had to go through that, and it was not. You know, knock on wood, I feel like we're past all that, but it's still something in a confidence aspect that a lot of the residents remember. You know, we've had the ability for people to get and pay their stuff electronically for quite some time. I mean, I don't know how many years it's been, but it's a lot, right? So when I look at the numbers here that are presented, we've got 15,000, more than half of our residents and business owners seem to prefer the way it's being done now because they've had the opportunity to switch to electronic billing and they haven't done it. So that resonates with me quite a bit, and this is pure presumption and assumption, which is not good all the time, but I've also got to believe that a large percentage of those folks that prefer the hard copy service, and it's a service, right? I mean, part of our responsibility up here is to figure out what services people want and then how to pay for them and deliver that service. And so this is a service that more than half of the city is comfortable with getting and seems to want because they have the alternative and the incentive to switch to electronic billing. They haven't done it. They haven't wanted to do that. So, you know, that's something that I'm wrestling with my mind. And where I was going with that, I apologize, is I gotta believe that a large percentage of those folks are our most senior residents
Mhm.
some of which I know don't have computers. They don't
Absolutely.
have emails. What I do for a living, I talk to people all day long all over the United States, and I'm always still shocked when I'm talking to potential customers in my line of work who say I don't have an email. I need you to have that printed out and send that information to me. And I get it. That's just how that is. So
Well, the ones that are, that
Yeah.
even aren't comfortable doing anything financial online.
but nonetheless, I mean, great idea. Great. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we should all be looking for and opportunities and have these discussions and so forth. But those are my thoughts anyway.
Okay. Reed, where you at?
Yeah, again, I want to commend, Councilman Groves for bringing something to the table. I think that's always, it's what we're up here to do, is to try to come up with, ideas, and applaud staff for taking the time to dig into this. I think it's worth considering. My issue is I don't see it as a savings. I see it as a shift in who's footing the bill. Saving money is lowering the millage rate. Saving money is, finding something that was here that doesn't need to be spent money on. There's those things do exist. This is just saying person A is going to pay for it instead person B is, or instead of the entire residents, we're going to put it on them. And we've already, I just wonder how much. I don't like feeling like I'm nickel and diming, and we've already agreed to a millage rate. There was an increase back in September. We've already agreed to fee increases. So how much more are we gonna go back and say, hey, here's one more little thing to over half of our residents and businesses? That's weighing pretty heavy with me. Where I am at right now with it, and I think it's a safe assumption, Scott. I know you're being respectful, and you're right to do so. My father gets a paper bill. I get an electronic one, and it's probably safe to assume that that's the way our older residents go. If the city wanted to transition to only letting new accounts have the option to be digital, I would be behind that. Technology is becoming more and more available. That doesn't put any of our older residents out, or any resident who prefers paper, who's currently, hey, this is an option. It's been an option. We don't take it away from you, but in the future, this is the way the city's going to do business. This is our vision for how Port Orange is going to do water bills. I can get behind that pretty quickly. That doesn't hurt anyone in the present. There's still an incentive of $30 to switch as it is. So there's an incentive. Anyone who's listening, if you're getting a paper water bill and you want to save $30 a year, switch to electronic. All right, there you go. You just made $30. What is it? One time. Sorry, John. You get a $30 credit the first year.
That's true. That's if you sign up for auto draft and electronic billing.
Okay, so there's a lot of strings attached to that that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Anyway, that's where I stand. Making everyone go to it immediately, I'm not sure that I'm there. Like I said, especially with everything else we've done, but not making it mandatory for the future is a conversation I'm willing to have for sure. I don't know how the council feels about that idea, but
Yeah.
That's an easier pill to swallow for me.
Anything else before I chime in on what I would suggest?
Yeah. So the other thing I was thinking about was like just looking at the raw numbers that, if right now we knew, okay, we're down to where it's only 15% or 20% of our population that's taking the paper bills too, but still because we're at the majority number, or even if you want to just split hairs, just say it's 50-50, that's a lot of people who seem to prefer that service, so.
Yeah.
Or are ambivalent.
Or
I-
that too.
I'm
right.
ambivalent.
Sure.
I've always it's never been an issue.
Yeah,
I've got a paper bill, I take it, I pay it.
right.
I'll go to electronic billing, and
Yeah.
what I would suggest is that maybe we look at first of all, if we, with new accounts, digital going digital would be the default way of doing that, but we still offer paper. We can't just eliminate that, because there's certain people, that's just the only way they can function.
No,
I don't wanna take that
I
ability away.
mean, I mean that if you choose to do it, this expense is part of that
Yeah.
new
Okay.
account creation. I don't mean that we wouldn't
Gotcha.
offer paper. What Tracy is this, what I'm saying is that what
Moving
he is
forward.
suggesting,
You're grandfathering
Yes.
past.
Yes.
As you move forward, it's a surcharge
yes,
or
that,
convenience fee. whatever you wanna
that
call
I'm
it.
okay with.
Gotcha.
Well, the other thing I think we can maybe do is, maybe over the next 6 months or so, do some kind of community education that when we're talking about potential future increases in your water bill, part of that is also absorbing the cost of processing and postage. So maybe to help us minimize or eliminate the potential future increases in water billing, we'd appreciate everybody who's capable of going to electronic billing to do so. And then maybe we promote that, and then we evaluate 6 months from now how far we got with community education and
Yeah.
where we're at. And if we want to take more steps beyond that, if we want to take an additional step, like go ahead and charging the 89 cents for new accounts right now, I'm not fond of that, but maybe I just think whatever we do, if we're putting some kind of financial penalty of some sort, we need to do that, but with a very slow roll. You know, you got to walk before you run. I see the potential in this, and I see the potential just knowing that this is the way that we're moving. This, you know, most people do things in an electronic way. If given the opportunity, we'll transfer over. But I also don't want to. I don't want to be the encumbrance of somebody who's on Social Security, worrying about another 89 cents a month. And while it might not sound like a lot of money, and it might not be a lot of money to them, they think about it. They worry about it. They count every penny like we do. And this is a move off of the way we're doing things now. I don't know. I'm just throwing those things. I'm spitballing a little bit. But we have a potential to save a good chunk of money on behalf of the taxpayers. I just want to be very careful about how we move forward doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Want to hear from the public?
Sure.
Let's hear from the public. And anyone here care to speak to the item? Anybody but Stan? Oh, Stan.
Was that being presumptive?
And who are you, sir?
Stan Schmidt, 5574 Trailside Drive, Port Orange. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I think this is not a bad idea at all. And I think what you got to do is you have to approach it as the educational part and just say, hey, this is what's going on. You can also say, okay, right now we'll switch over there. We're not going to charge 89 cents or $1 or whatever that number is, but in 3 years we're going to put that in. You look back, and I'm a CPA. I look back at the switch from paper filing to electronic filing. The IRS came out in about 2000 and said, hey, we're going to move to electronic filing in 2007, and everyone freaked out. Now, how many people file an electronic file paper tax return? I know a couple of you for sure.
Yeah.
Most everybody does it. I mean, it's just easy to do. And I think if you explain to people, this is what we're trying to do, and $250,000 is a significant fund. If someone's sitting out there and they're drawing their Social Security and they're going, hey, if I can save the city $250,000, let's talk. It's worth doing something like that. And people, it's surprising. I know what you're saying. You run into the people that don't have computers, but there's a lot of people who do have computers, and they've just never thought about it because it's never really been presented to them or pushed. And if you guys take credit for, here's an idea that's going to save you $250,000 for your city, because you're getting ripped all the time on public media. You know, oh, the city's always nickel and dime stuff. Well, here's a way that we can save some nickels and dimes. Why not at least explore and at least start off with an educational thing or a promotional thing every month saying, hey, you can save money, move over to this. And maybe you can say at some date certain, 2 years from now, we're going to start charging you a $3 fee. And if you want to avoid that, here you go, just get used to it. it's not that big a deal. I switched over to FPNL, and they track me down if I'm, missing a couple of days. It can be done. And like you said, the one question I have is your computer system sophisticated enough that you can really track it? We've had problems in the past, as you've acknowledged. But if you can get through that, I'd say, explore it. And it's definitely worth pushing it. And like I said, the educational piece, the date's certain in a couple of years from now, that's when we're going to start charging it. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Especially when you can say, we're saving you money, folks. All right? That's all for me.
Thanks, Stan.
Thanks, Dan.
And you did that in less than 3 minutes.
Gingerbread master.
No, pumpkin bread.
Who else we got?
Pumpkin bread.
Pumpkin bread.
the survivor of E406.
Mayor, councilman members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. I don't mind paying whatever it costs, to do it by mail. I recently got an e-bill rather, from the News Journal, and I went and I tried to go to look at pay the bill, and it required you to enter a credit card number. And so I called them up and I talked to them, and I said, can I go down to the office and pay at the office?
Luck.
And oh no, if you got an e-subscription, you have to pay by e-bill. And I said, well, not me. And so that's what I'm concerned about, is that you're going to e-bill and you're going to end up looking for credit card numbers. And, you just talked about identity theft. I'm not going to give them a credit card number, so I don't want to see it end up there. So I'll pay whatever you ask, and I'm going to get a paper copy, and I'm going to put it in the mail and mail it in. Because one time I went down to the clerk's office and went to pay my bill, and they took my check, ran it through a machine, and gave it back to me. And that's the last time I made an attempt to go to the clerk's court, the clerk's office. Now I put it in the mail and mail it in. Thank you.
Thanks,
Robert.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah,
It's just because you get an electronic bill doesn't mean you have to pay it electronically.
Correct, yeah, they're not gonna ask you for your credit card information. They're gonna send you the bill
Still
electronically,
be
and
your
you're gonna
choice.
have to write that check and put a stamp on it to send it back to the city or show up at the window or whatever. Yeah,
You still have that choice.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm concerned about is that it could lead to the requirement.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
yeah. Some
Thank you, Robert.
future council down the road or something, or whatever, yeah, I get it.
There are a lot of angles we can take with this.
Sure.
And I think that one of the suggestions we heard is that the implementation of a fee come much later down the road as we transition. What we're talking about right now, if we do something like 2 years from now, and you say the fee's $2.50. I know that when the time comes, it's not gonna cost 89 cents 2.5 years from now, because the cost of everything does not stay the same.
It might be 94
Not in this
cents.
country,
I
not with
mean,
the inflation
yeah.
pressures we feel
Yeah,
now.
it's,
So I think that would be part of the future planning as well. But at the
And-
same time, this is the cost to operate the system.
yeah.
The people who are doing it electronically are absorbing the cost a little
Yeah.
bit for the people who are not. So
Yeah.
there's a fairness issue as well.
Yeah, and if they refuse to pay that or they don't pay it, you still have to mail them a bill. You can't not send them a bill and expect them to pay something. They don't know what the cost is, so that would there'd be people that would refuse to pay the fee, and you are still gonna have to mail them a bill, because it's gotta be
still a
paid.
minimal cost, but
Yeah.
me personally, I'd like us to start with some kind of public education
Oh,
program,
yeah, yeah.
letting people know that this is available, this can be done, and this could save us all money
Yeah,
on future
yeah.
water bills increases, as well as
Yeah.
the potential for a service fee
Yeah.
to pay for that.
Well, I mean, clearly, there is some interest, because we have 9,000 bills that are emailed or e-billed or whatever.
One way or the
So-
other, just because we
Yeah.
had this conversation tonight, I guarantee you
Hope, yeah.
there'll be some calls to customer service in the morning, and that's just because simply we had a conversation without taking any action. I wanna circle back to you, cause this is where we started.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that you guys have said, it's kind of interesting. The first one is what brought this up originally is I get an auto draft, but I still get a paper bill.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, I'm paying auto draft, why am I getting a paper bill? And I do that to all of you. How many of y'all are auto draft and you still get a paper bill that shows up in the mail?
Nope.
And, you know, one on the end, you know,
I do it.
it's the same thing. And I look at that and I go, okay, so we're double jeoparding the system that this bill shows up, and it makes no sense at all. So I went digital that way, and the digital process was simplistic. Give them the information and it's done. The 89 cents, as you know, is going to be 91 cents in February. 2 cents on a stamp already increased. Do you think the government is going to stay with a 68 cents on a stamp that it's moved how many times in the last several years?
Yeah.
So it's going to continually go up. I have to agree with Councilman Foley, the ideal of having it set in place as we go forward, that this is the way we do business as, and if you still want paper, then we'll give you the charge. I think it's a brilliant idea to put it that way, that we can implement this
Yeah.
quickly so we don't keep getting increase into it.
Would you put the fee like on the monthly bill, so
Yep.
you wouldn't have to worry about tracking it
Correct.
yearly or some, okay.
Correct. But ultimately, the thing that you guys have to look at is we've had the credit for change for quite a while. That's nothing new. If magically tomorrow you had the 15,000 people show up, you guys are going to spend a crunch of money. Now, I'm in a business. My business is to make money and not spend money. Giving credits on something is something where I just shake my head and go, oof, I'm throwing money away because it's something that should have been done already.
Gotcha.
You take 15,000 and you times that by $30, and you guys may have a coronary on what that fee is. I'm trying to collect back $250,000 not being spent. I know what Councilman Foley said as far as the millage rate, we set our millage rate. This is to stop our millage rate for next year. We have to look in the future to what our expenses are in our budget. Yeah, our millage rate is set this year. Next year, we should not have to increase our millage rate. That's why we're trying to save the money now. So when it comes around budgetary, we don't spend that money.
Well, keep in mind, this will not affect our millage rate. This is
Correct.
water bill.
Yeah.
People, whether they're paying in a water or millage, this is, you know, we still have a fiduciary responsibility one way or the other.
I understand that, but it's still money being spent one way or the other.
Absolutely. And you're talking about the price of postage. This is done by a vendor.
Yeah, third party.
Our vendor, we're only as good or as bad as the execution of our vendor. And if we go on the cheap with a vendor, they're gonna execute poorly.
Yep.
The price of that vendor, I believe, has never stayed the same, but has gradually gone up over the years. So simply just because postage goes up doesn't mean the price of this is only gonna go up just the postage.
Correct. And then lastly is in some of the concerns of dealing with billing and credit cards and things of that nature. The city has spent a substantial amount of money for the new Tyler system. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, that the Tyler system is to incorporate everything into one house to stop the problems that we've had in the past. And it's also to aid with multiple emails. So if you have somebody that is afraid of having their one email, they can add another email if they want. They can have it go into 2 different accounts. So there is a fix there. It's how do we implement it?
Okay, well, I'm gonna make some recommendations to council, because obviously it's gonna have to come back for us to vote on. I don't wanna do it tonight. Because first of all, staff's got to do the hard work anyway. But the implementation of a $2 fee for, starting on June 1st for new water bill accounts. That I would also suggest that we, staff tell us what kind of public education program that we can be involved in for the next 4 to 6 months, along the lines of educating people that this is just registering for the e-bill. You don't necessarily have to register to for the auto pay, but just registering for the e-bill in and of itself has the potential to reduce or eliminate future water bill increases. And then the third thing is that I thought the suggestion of implementation of putting it in place in the future, maybe June 1st, 2 years from now, that everybody that's still on paper would pay $2 or something along those lines. So I'm kind of looking at it as three-pronged. Public education, let's get people on board as quickly as we can, those that can and those that are willing. Part of that, letting them know they don't have to put their credit card. Hey, I can get an electronic bill. I refuse to give up a credit card simply because I like to have that control. I don't want to give it up to somebody. That's my choice. I'm not giving that away. And to get an electronic bill, I still won't. We can let people know that that ability is there. Second part, after the public education, is the implementation of a paper billing fee for new accounts later this year. And then the third part of it, at some point, future date, the implementation of a fee for paper billing for everybody at some distant time. I do want to be able to measure how much impact we make simply just by public education and letting people know the impact of that. What do y'all think? I mean, what I'm trying to do is, I like where he's going because he's 100% correct.
And it's
but
creative. And
it's not like when I go to the grocery store, if this costs too much, I'm looking for a cheaper alternative. This is water. Everybody needs it.
That,
yeah.
so my mind's spent over here on a couple of things, and this might be a Wayne question, it might be a John question. That 89 cents that keeps being brought up, that's all in, that's stamp, mail, and everything else. So would you not believe, and I'm just knowing how companies work, if we're not sending 15,000, that we are going to lose our rate. And so ergo, it's going to get more expensive if we only have 10,000 or if we only have 5,000. Right? I know I can sell you 30 Reed Foley hats for better,
That's
for a
the
better
$2
price.
fee and not an 89-cent fee.
Yeah, so that's something to be aware of too. So I'll say this: I totally agree on the educational literature. Surely we can stuff that. We can put it on the water bill, or even stuff it into the water bill. And I do think the $2 paper charge on new accounts is also a great idea. I think that could start almost immediately. I still don't know that you're going to get me to come along with charging anybody anything who's already got an account. I just don't know that I'm there yet. But I like the rest of it. So I'm negotiable.
Well, I think
here.
we can put those three components on a future agenda for to vote on, and if all three components don't pass, all three components don't pass. If all three do, then all three do.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, and if there's something else that you want to add to this, that's fine. I'm just trying to bring everything that
I
we've
got it.
heard, everything that we've discussed together for something that is actionable, because if we don't do that, then nothing happens.
Well, and part of it is us putting the idea out there and then having some time to talk to the constituents and the residents and get that feedback from them as well. And then, you know, we don't want to pass on the irony that a reporter in 2019 who did a story on some of the issues we were having will be our education specialist for this moving forward. So that'll be good. He's got that personal connection and insights in it.
Indeed. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Wayne, are you clear on what we're asking, or do you need clarification?
A little more on the schedule. So do you want us to do some public information for a while and then come back with how many people switched over? Or
Public
do you want us to
information
put
can
something?
start, well, it already has.
We can
'cause
do
we're
that, but do
discussing
you
it
want us to
tonight.
then wait until that before we bring you back the new accounts fee, or sometime in February bring you an
I think we
item?
can make those decisions now, and then if we decide that we don't want to take action, if we vote down putting a new fee in, I'd like to put the new fee into play, have a vote on the new fee for new customers immediately.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
Despite all
confirm. So you're not waiting to see the results of any
Yeah.
kind of public information campaign, bring that
We
back to
can
you.
talk about all those three things and vote on all the three things independently. And then certainly the public information campaign might indicate what we do for future action.
I just want to say that immediate may require some notices to happen, so it maybe not immediate like next meeting, but once we go through the notice process, which would at least require a full billing cycle, if that's where we're headed, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that was kind of why I threw that out to June 1st,
Yeah.
because I know that you're gonna have some
Yeah.
requirements. You're gonna make sure that we meet those requirements and that we don't take away anybody's rights or privileges to
Yeah.
Discuss it with us in the
So it could
process.
be discussed and then implemented at a future.
Yeah, more of, not immediate so much as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I think is what we're doing.
Okay?
Good stuff.
City manager clear on his instructions?
Yes, I got it.
Very good. The next discussion item, actually not discussion, agenda item 20, table sponsorship for the Mayor's Gala presented by First Step Shelter. I asked this to be put on the agenda so that it is noticed that we discuss it. Several cities are already have pledged sponsorships to the Mayor's Gala. That is a primary fundraiser for First Step Shelter, not just the shelter, but also operation of the safe zone there. I wanted to throw that out there and allow you all to comment and see if we wanted to follow suit with some of our neighbors. That's the competitive side of me speaking, along with the fact that we will be helping.
So you're throwing down
Yeah.
are you throwing down a challenge to our
I'm
neighbors?
trying to throw
if
down
we-
a challenge.
If we do this, okay.
At the same time, as we're supporting something that helps us remain Pottinger compliant. Council, your thoughts?
So long as you think it benefits the residents of Port Orange, I'm not gonna argue with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, if the city manager, he can find this in his budget to do this, that's fine.
You can take it out of the city manager's operating expenses rather easily, I'm sure.
There's council operating expenses also.
We can do that too. That'll work too.
Oh, boy.
Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So we have a motion to cover the cost of sponsorship of $1,000 for the city of Port Orange to support the First Step Shelter at the Mayor's Gala. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion, a proper second. The item is open on the floor. Further discussion? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, final comments? Call the roll.
Councilman Foley,
Yes.
Councilman Grubbs,
Yes.
Councilman Bastian,
Yes.
excuse me, Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Additional items, city attorney report.
Since we're bringing up the new requirements for the Form 6, I did want to just bring to your attention that there's likely going to be some legal challenges. I mean, we kind of thought that when it came out. Now it looks like it's more imminent that there will potentially be some folks that challenge. I think it was the total count, there was a question of how many folks ended up resigning due to the new requirement. I think the final count in Florida was over 100 elected officials
Yep.
ultimately resigned in the state of Florida. There are some that are some cities that are coming together to bring forward a suit, and it's kind of on there's a right to privacy built in the Florida Constitution. There's also some First Amendment concepts that may be in place. So there's a legal basis to try to challenge this. I think I'll get you some information on that. I don't have it all kind of buttoned up just yet, but because there's some firms out there are willing to do this, it's kind of a flat rate proposition, but I want to give you some of the background on what that might look like in the event that, you know, this body as a collective group wants to move forward with exploring what that challenge would look like to the newly adopted Form 6 requirements.
Mr. City Attorney,
Matt?
let me just say that I'm not a fan of Form 6. I'm not in a hurry to spend taxpayer money to fight it. However, please keep us informed on the progress of that. Bring us more information as it appears so that, you know, that may change. Who knows? Reed, did you have something?
I was gonna ask Matt a question. I can ask him after the meeting. Or if you can give me a very quick answer. Isn't Form 6, it's been around, right? The governors had to do it, senators, you know, other elected officials. It's
School
just
board.
now applied to our level of government, which
Yeah.
it was not previously.
Correct, never before applied at your
So I don't know what protections would be in place to us that doesn't apply to those other seats. But I mean, you and I could discuss that again, just the two of us. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Anything else?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager,
I don't have anything further.
excellent report. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Wayne, could you just touch on, so we've got an initiative that we're all, or many of us are gonna be undertaking in Tallahassee. Can you just talk about what we're gonna be doing up there for our residents to hear? And then also, bringing up the public information stuff. That's another discussion we should talk about, not necessarily tonight, but how our residents can help support our efforts in Tallahassee by reaching out to our state lawmakers and stuff like that. Can you just touch on that one?
We have requested a number of projects, 5 total projects through the legislative appropriations approach. So the state of Florida has a budget that the House and Senate put together, sent to the governor, and through a variety of funding sources, most of the ones that we've seen in the past that have come to Port Orange have been for the Department of Environmental Protection, but it's funding for infrastructure projects. So we have a request for about $11.5 million worth of infrastructure projects. Last year we got $3.5 million. The year before we got about $1 million. So we've gotten a pretty good amount of state support for our projects that improve the infrastructure here. We have tended to focus on stormwater projects, water and sewer upgrades in the older parts of town. And so you're seeing a lot of effort to go up and explain the value to the community. One of the things we've done is done water and sewer lines that are going under the river that serve other jurisdictions. So we've promoted the fact that we're supporting regional areas, more than just Port Orange, but in other areas where we provide infrastructure services in the areas that are along US 1. So as we go up to the legislature and say, can you assist us in funding our infrastructure upgrades? That's what we're going to be doing next week, is that we have got all of them in there. They're all bills. They're all part of the upcoming budget. And as you've seen in the past, they get lots and lots of these requests. We're going to go up and explain the case for why there's a value in what we're doing. We've done a really good job of putting together. I think one of the biggest things Port Orange does that others have not done is every one of our projects has a match of at least 50%. And when you sit there with the state budget people and tell them, you know, these are important projects to us. We have to do them. Your funding will allow us to get more done for this region than we could do otherwise on our own, because they have the larger pot. So that is principally what we're up there going to do.
I think when we get back, we should, while we're up there, we should look for this, but when we get back strategically, we should try to identify who are those key folks in Tallahassee that we can also encourage our residents to help this process by reaching out to and emailing their representatives and their state folks, you know, at that level to support these requests and stuff like that. So we need to look at doing that ourselves for sure.
And our local legislators, both Representative Tremont and Senator Wright, have sponsored all of these items for us. So their names are on them as the representatives supporting them. But it takes a whole lot of people up there to make sure that these things happen, all the way up through the governor's budget staff.
Mm-hmm. You good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that, council committee reports over to CTPO. Councilman Reed Foley.
Nothing to report.
Okay, you got to meet to have a report. So, Roundtable of elected officials met yesterday. We had 2 presentations. One on the property marketplace in relation to homeowners insurance, and for both, well, not just homeowners but businesses as well. The invitation was to a representative from Brown & Brown to update us on what the market looks like. I know the state legislature is dealing with that. I hope they deal with that more effectively. The other presentation we had is the one I'm really concerned with, the vulnerability assessment resiliency. Both the PowerPoints from those were sent to us today, and I forwarded to the rest of council so that you can see what the county presented to us with those presentations yesterday. With that, just a quick note, we get another hour of rain. After that, it's going to be a chilly morning. Council, every year we go and visit all our schools. We got 10 of them. They're Teachers of the Year in 10 of our schools. And see me afterwards, let me know who you want to visit and where, but I very much want to continue the tradition of certificates of appreciation and proclamations for all our teachers of the year in all our schools. Drew, I got a feeling I know which one you might
I'll
want.
take Port Orange Elementary.
I had a feeling. So I will see you all afterwards. With that, we will not meet again until next month. So this is kind of a sparse schedule, but we'll take it. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a good night. Stay dry.